Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Hope everyone's doing great today. If your day's already started, if not, I hope you have a great day and you do good. But I want to talk about something today that's been troubling my spirit for a good while. And I mentioned to you on a previous video, I think on that video about grievances and not reading to black parents not reading, needing to read to their children. I think I mentioned that video to you about injustice or something like that, and black men in society and things like that. And so I just want to touch on a few things in that area. Because over in Psalms 146:3, it says, "Don't put your confidence in powerful people. There is no help for you there." And see, we've been putting our confidence and faith in so many men that we forgot to put our confidence and faith in the Father. We've put our confidence and faith in pastors and preachers. We've put our confidence and faith in politicians, especially if they're black politicians. We've put our confidence and faith in so-called black leaders. We've put our confidence and faith in black judges. We put our confidence and faith in black attorneys. And we put so much faith in that, and we still don't get the justice that we deserve as a people. Are we getting justice, or is it just us? I think that'll be the title of this one. See, one of the things that troubles me more than anything is how black men are perceived in society. And since I'm considered a black man, that perception is against me as well. Now, I'm not talking about the criminal element. Sure, we have some criminal elements as well as every other race and culture. But society has painted the black male face as one of so much crime in this country and around the world that when white women see a black man coming toward them, they'll clutch their purses much tighter, as if every black man is going to steal their purse. You know, I don't know if I've ever mentioned a story. My wife and I we were headed up to Dallas one time. And, in Ennis, Texas, there's a Walmart. I haven't been to Dallas in a few years. So I don't even know if the Walmart's still there, but there's a Walmart in Ennis, Texas that we would stop at all the time. We would go that way. And my wife and I, it's at that point where we're going in Dallas, we still maybe have about 45 minutes to an hour and a half to go, just depending on which part of Dallas, if it's going Dallas, Mesquite, Fort Worth, it just depends. But anyway, we always stop in this Walmart. And, because I'm the type person, when I drive, I want to drive. You got time for no stopping. The kids from the church learned that when we went to Disney World. Don't be drinking all this stuff because I don't like to stop until it's time to get gas. You get gas, food, use the restroom all in one stop. I don't like to stop. But went in Walmart and used the restroom. And I don't travel like that anymore. Take my time and go down the road. But I got out of the restroom before my wife, and I just happened to walk out, and I was just standing right outside the restroom, waiting on my wife, because the restrooms are right next to each other in Walmart. And I just happened to, there was a cash register right in front of me. A young lady was ringing up, uh, customer, and I grew up in a house full of women. Three sisters, my mother, a lot of women in my family, and always looking out, in a sense to protect them. I want to protect my wife. I want to protect my granddaughter, daughters-in-law. I want to protect them. And you got so many real perverts out here in society. And so I was looking down at the floor, and then I just happened to raise my head up and look toward the cashier. And at the moment I looked, she was facing me, and her pants were unzipped. And I waited for her customers to leave, and I walked up to her and I said, "Ma'am," I said, "I just want to let you know your pants unzipped. And I turned to walk away. And she made a big, well, why are you looking down there? And I said, hey, it's not that serious. I said, I just thought you would know, should know. And so, my wife was coming out the restroom at the time, and she, what's going on? I said, I just happened to look up and saw pants unzipped. I said, and I just went to let her know. I said, because apparently none of her coworkers had told her, even the young ladies that work with her. I said, but, and she said, you know what, Myron? She said, some women, every woman think you're always looking at them and trying to flirt. I said, yeah, I know you got those women out there with the low self-esteem, and they think every man interested in them. I wasn't interested in them. I was just trying to help out. Like I said, I'm a young white lady. And, I just thought about that, when it said, how white women perceive black men. And I'm not saying all of them, but I've given you enough stories to show where it's an issue that needs to be corrected. Why do you think the Karen was birthed? And, but they treat black men like that. But these same white women will keep doing business with a bank of white person even after that person has exploited them. A black man, if he steals your purse, he'll get what's in the purse. A white man whom you trust with your retirement accounts will steal everything from you. And the difference is when a black man steals your purse, you look at all black men the same. But when a white man steals your retirement or savings, you treat that as an isolated incident. I keep seeing where black men are being released from prison after 20 plus years for crimes they didn't even commit. Whites love to call black men thugs and criminals, but these white attorneys are locking up our innocent men all over the place. Recently, one man was released after 47 years for a crime he didn't commit, even after giving them an alibi, even after the murdered woman's neighbor told police it was someone who looked nothing like the guy they arrested, even after the woman said they never brought her in to testify. Another guy was locked up for 25 years for a crime he didn't commit. So, who are the real criminals? Is it the people who aren't breaking the law, or is it the people who have sworn to uphold it? It hurts me deeply when I see these stories. I mean, you can't even imagine how my spirit gets when I see these stories. The man who's locked up for 45 years is 72 years old. And I don't want to say was because he's still living. He's happy he's out, but look at how much life was lost. The other guy locked up for over 25 years is 62. These men lost the most productive years of their lives because prosecutors want to get victory notches under their legal belts. Then, just like clockwork, here come these idiot reporters and want to ask the man locked up for 47 years, how does it feel to be free? They should be asking the prosecutor, how does it feel you were a jackass? What if the system started to make the prosecutors and defense attorneys make financial restitution out of their own pockets when they don't properly do their jobs? I'm not saying when they work with the evidence they had. I'm talking about when they ignore evidence and eyewitness accounts just so they can lock someone up. And defense attorneys, man, you need to take a deal. How many of our black men are sitting in prison because they listen to the defense attorney say, man, it's enough evidence to prosecute you. They're going to take a deal. But they ignored evidence that was there that would have exonerated them before they ever went to prison. See, attorneys can mess with people's lives and keep their jobs. Police officers can mess up people's lives and keep their jobs. As a matter of fact, what if the police forces around the country were really just the newest version of slave catchers for the plantation? Doctors mess up people's lives and keep their jobs. Judges mess up people's lives and keep their jobs. But when a person willingly participates in a crime and messes up his own life and gets sent to prison, these same people always want to say he should have made better choices. At 62 and 72 years old, what are these men supposed to do with their lives now? I mean, anybody can start new. Colonel Sanders was, I think, in his 60s when he started KFC, after being rejected many times. But also, Colonel Sanders wasn't no convicted felon either. These men haven't been able to work and save for their golden years. They will more than likely not be hired now because of their ages. They will be on paper for a number of years and told to keep their noses clean so that they don't violate their parole. These men will more than likely have to depend on others to live the rest of their lives unless some miracle takes place. Why does it take years and decades to exonerate black men? Guess who has the power over the courts? You, the people who vote. You have to vote for judges and district attorneys. So why do you keep voting for DAs and judges who are treating you like this in the system? I remember when the last election came, local election, the people walk in the neighborhoods, and it's always fun when they knock on my door. They like to question me, and I like to give them answers they don't want to hear. But a young lady knocked on my door, and she was telling me about making sure I get out the vote and yada yada yada, all that baloney. And he said, we have to do what we can to get all these Democratic judges out of office because the crime is soaring in our communities, and these Democratic judges are releasing these criminals back on the streets to terrorize us more and more. She said, we need to get some more Republican judges in office. Well, you're telling the wrong person. I already know what the problem is. Go talk to your family members and friends. Don't talk to me. I know what the issue is. But you have the power over the courts with your vote. So why do you keep voting for these DAs and these judges who are locking your people up, even when they're innocent? And you can look, every day you can catch an article or a video or something. Well, people just running rampant. I think of in Philadelphia, they said they was up there, a whole group of teenagers up there just running rampant, stealing out of an Apple store and Target, I believe it was, my wife told me. I don't remember what she told me, but I think it was Apple store and Target. And, they running rampant. And, that's happening all over the country. And up in Chicago, because all these stores are shutting down now because these Democrats in all levels of politics and everything else are saying don't prosecute these people. These people are shuttering their doors because they can't afford to keep their businesses open because the theft is so high. And guess what they announced in Chicago? They're going to start government-owned retail stores. So you have to ask your question, is this the agenda all along? To put all these private companies out of business so that you only have a couple of major players that's going to jack their prices up that you can't afford, and then government start some businesses with substandard products? Guarantee you're going to get some substandard products. Gavin Newsom say, if you try to stop a criminal in the store you work in, you going to jail. Not the criminal, you going to prison. I saw the other day a guy shot 3 people. They said his bail at $2,500. So this dude paid $250 and he out the door. Guess what judge did that? A Democrat. But y'all say the Republicans are against the people. No, Democrats are the ones, the reason our men getting locked up this way. Yeah, Republicans are tough on crime, but Democrats the ones convicting us like this. Y'all went out and voted for Jim Crow Joe, who authored the '94 crime bill. And go look it up. He has a 1988 crime bill. 1986 he has a crime bill. 1984 he has a crime bill. And we had to make sure we got Trump out of office because he hurt our feelings. Man, we can't think at all. We wanted to point out how Trump was bad for paying a hooker, but you ain't hearing nothing about what Joe Biden said about how Joe was taking a shower with her and how she would wait till he went to bed at night and the mama knew about it. But you don't hear that in the news. Let's see, I done got all off the topic I want to talk about. But let me get back to what I was talking about. But why does it take years or decades to exonerate black men? Like I said, you got the power over the courts. You have been told that Republican judges and DAs are the problem for Black America, but in reality, it's the total opposite. But you can't think for yourself. You're allowing other people to control your mind. See, you know why we have the political mess we do in this country? It's because of we, the people. How can I say we, the people, are the problem? Well, I want to read you something. A 2020 study by researchers from the University of Vienna found that citizens seek candidates with personalities like their own and who have similar core ideological views. When many personality traits and core values align, it produces a much stronger connection between voter and politician. Listen to that. Now, see, that says a whole lot. We, the people, are voting for people whose values and ideology align with ours. Well, if that's the case, our values and ideologies stink. And since the politics continue to get worse, that means our values stink because we are passing down poor values to our offspring who are more engrossed in feelings than anything else. People better stop with this my truth and start following the truth. Your truth is in reality just your facts. That doesn't make it the truth. I'm going to read you some situations about different black men. In 2004, Jesse Johnson was convicted of a 1998 murder and sentenced to death row for a crime he did not commit. He spent 25 years in prison, 17 of those on death row. Now, this is what happened. In 1998, Harriet Sonny Thompson was stabbed to death in her home in Salem, Oregon. According to AP, Associated Press, the jury in Johnson's case wasn't privy to important testimony from neighbor Patricia Hubbard, who said she saw a white man flee in the victim's home. After Johnson was convicted, Hubbard continued to try to explain to police what she saw that night, but police allegedly responded by telling Miss Hubbard a black woman got murdered and a black man is going to pay for it. There were clear and unambiguous statements of racism by a detective involved in the case who discouraged a neighbor from sharing what she witnessed, that she witnessed a white man running away from the scene on the night of the murder. Steve Wax, Oregon Innocent Project's legal director, told AP, in 1976, Leonard Mack was wrongfully convicted of rape and 2 counts of criminal possession of a weapon. And the system wants to always say black people won't cooperate with them when they ask questions. Well, here you had a black woman, Miss Hubbard, who was willing to cooperate, and the system ignored her because she didn't provide the story they wanted. According to the Independent, new DNA evidence was discovered by the Innocent Project and the Westchester County District Attorney Conviction Review Unit, which declared Mack an innocent man. The new DNA testing on evidence from the crime scene found that Leonard Mack was not a perpetrator of the crimes that took 46 years of his life. Kenneth Nixon was only 19 when he was wrongfully convicted of a murder he didn't commit. Now the 35-year-old black man who was just released in February 2021 is suing the Detroit Police Department for stealing years of his life away. On September 25, 2005, Kenneth Nixon was arrested and charged with murder for allegedly throwing a Molotov cocktail through a bedroom window of a Detroit home, which killed a 10-year-old who lived in the house. According to Detroit Free Press, 3 witnesses interviewed by MJP said they saw Nixon the night of the fire and he could not have committed the crime. During the trial, prosecutors cited the gasoline on Nixon's clothes as evidence of his guilt. But Nixon was a tow truck driver and said he often had gasoline on his clothes. The 13-year-old star witness Brandon Vaughn, who survived the fire, was also believed to be coached, giving different accounts of the incident, including if he saw Nixon throw the Molotov cocktail. After decades in a system for a crime he didn't commit, Tyrone Daly is finally a free man. Day, who was one of the Innocent Project's longest-standing clients, was exonerated on May 24th of this year after a 1990 sexual assault charge was dismissed by a Dallas County District Judge. Day was only 19 years old at the time of his arrest, and after accepting a plea deal, he was sentenced to 40 years in prison. Although Day had pleaded guilty, he maintained his innocence and said he only accepted the plea deal because he thought he would be released on parole after 4 years. Tyrone Day would spend the next 26 years of his life incarcerated until he was released on parole, but life was no much easier. Day was forced to register as a sex offender for life. Tyrone Day spent the last 33 years of his life fighting for his freedom. After serving 28 years in prison for a crime he did not commit, David Wright will finally be able to see his family again. The Cook County State's Attorney Office dropped all charges against Wright, who had claimed he was framed by Chicago police for double murder. The now 46-year-old black man was accused of killing 2 men in the Inglewood neighborhood when he was 17 years old. He was arrested after the case had gone cold for months. According to David B. Owens, Wright's attorney, officers involved in Wright's arrest allegedly coerced him into a confession. As a 17-year-old kid, bring him to the police station and interrogate him for 14 hours. He said, at the end of the day, he signed a confession. We're done. And then he is criminally prosecuted and had a mandatory life sentence as a juvenile. See, there are a lot more in recent years. And in order to spare you all the details, I'll just mention the names. And if I remember, I'll put a link in the description box. Sidney Holmes spent 34 years or 400-year sentence. Ralph Blaine Smith spent 21 years in prison. Lamar Johnson was in prison for almost 28 years. Raymond Flank spent 40 years in prison. Maurice Hastings spent 38 years in prison. Thomas Raynard James spent 32 years in prison. Vincent Simmons spent 45 years in prison. Devonia Inman spent 23 years in prison. Kevin Strickland spent 23 years in prison. Jawan Derrick spent 15 years in prison. Herbert Alford spent 5 years because Hertz rental car refused to provide a receipt showing that he could not have committed murder. Walter Forbes spent 37 years behind bars. Tremaine Hicks spent 19 years locked up. Clifford Williams and his nephew Nathan Miles were locked up for 43 years. Calvin Bright served 25 years. Kevin Bacon and his friend Sean Washington served 25 years. Theophilus Wilson served 28 years. Alfred Chestnut, Ransom Watkins, and Andrew Stewart from Baltimore were freed from prison after 36 years. Anthony Ray Hidden spent 30 years of his life in prison. Lamar Johnson served, that's not the same one I mentioned earlier, served 13 years for murder he didn't commit. Wilbur Jones spent 45 years behind bars. Hugh Burton spent 20 years in prison and 10 on parole. And you want to tell me we getting justice? A really close friend of mine was sentenced to 2 years in prison, back during our college days. And he knew it was justified. I knew it was justified. He had no leg to stand on to fight against the charges because he had already committed some crimes, and and they didn't sentence him. They put him on probation, and you violate, of course, you're going to jail. And he went to prison. And so after 2 years, because of our relationship, I still hadn't heard from it. And I'm like, man, this ain't, what's going on? I mean, I was telling myself, man, he should be out by now. And no, I don't reach out to nobody when they're in prison. I don't do that. Go do your time. Come on out. We can hang in, but ain't no need me coming by calling you in prison, coming to see you. Man, don't need me to do that. But several more years went by, and I finally saw him. And the reason I said that, I remember as a kid going with a family member to visit someone in prison. And, because I wasn't on the list, I had to sit outside in the car while they were in the prison up in Huntsville. And so, I don't want to do that. Uncle retired from prison. I have an aunt retired from the prison system. My closest buddy in high school worked at the prison for a while. Another buddy of mine worked in the prison for a while. No, I don't want the environment. So no, I'm not going to see you. But several more years went by, and I finally saw him. And he was always a buff dude. On lifting weights. I mean, crazy workout schedule. And he used to always, get on me because he didn't think I was doing enough push-ups every day. I say, well, man, I ain't gonna do them. But growing up, he never met a fight he didn't like. So I thought he had gone in, caused problems and had time added to his sentence because of his behavior. And that day we talked, he said he didn't have one fight the entire time he was locked up. He didn't educate me that day. He said, Myron, prison is big business. They get $1,500 a day for every person locked up. And if there's no one to advocate for you, you're going to automatically get years added to your sentence so they can continue to make money. And I'm saying $1,500 a day. I don't know if it's the same today or not. But this was over 15 years ago when he and I had this conversation. And because I had got married by the time he got out of prison. And so he said they get $1,500 a day for everyone locked up. So I say 15 years, over 20 years ago when I had this conversation. But in the scenario, not only are wrongfully convicted black men suffering the loss, the black family suffers by losing a leader. The black families suffer because they lose a provider. The black family suffers by losing a protector. Why do you think molestation has increased exponentially in our black families? Let me let you in on a little something. A woman is not a protector. Let me say that again. A woman is not a protector. Here recently, I saw where someone broke into this house. Mom and children only. Mom had a pistol, but mom was holding the pistol and shaking and couldn't shake it. And the 13-year-old son grabbed the pistol out and shot the dude. He blasted that fool. Because the woman ain't a protector. We hear about, Mama Bear all the time. But Papa Bear is the one you don't really want to have to deal with. That's why they lock our Papa Bears up. So there's nobody to defend and protect our families and leave our women and children exposed and vulnerable. See, when we see a lion pride, we see the females doing the hunting. But the male lion protects the whole pride. See, in the family structure, the woman is supposed to get the food. And, I know a lot of women, today's women, have issue with that, no, you ain't supposed to be that way, and, we got, right? How that feminist movement worked out for you? The feminist movement messed y'all heads up. Feminist movement ran your men away. And see, when a black man don't have no purpose, and not just black man, any man don't have a purpose to live, he gonna become a criminal because he needs something to occupy his time. So if he don't have nobody to live for, he don't have nobody to fight for, he don't have nobody to love and protect, he gonna turn to crime. And so the black family, a lot of women today don't even want to cook. I was telling my wife today, like I say, remember this video is recorded well in advance because, I did tell you I wasn't releasing videos for a while. But I was telling my wife today when this video, recording this video, that, every day at some point during the internet, I'll hit a site and it's always slow cooker or crock pot recipes show up. And I told my wife, I said, for the women that don't like to cook, don't want to cook, I said, they could get a crock pot and prepare a very hearty and healthy meal right in the crock pot. And they could provide good food for their family every day. But they don't want to do that. But the black family suffers by losing a protector. The black boys suffer because there's no dad to teach them how to be men. The black daughters lose and suffer because there's no man to teach them how a man should treat them. The black community suffers because the crime rate exponentially increases because of lack of men in the community. So black men are the criminals, right? And guess what? The black man sentenced to 47 years was a Vietnam vet. On September 3rd of this year, just not even a month ago, September 3rd, like I said, recording early, it's recorded a while back. September 3rd of this year, a white man told police he had been robbed by 3 black men and a white woman. And in reality, what happened, he owed some people some money that had helped him out while he was down. And he blew the money that he owed them. So he made up a story about black men robbing him. And see, y'all all know as long as you say, well, black man did it, society is going to solidify that what white men and women have been telling them for years. And the system will spend countless hours trying to find imaginary criminals because somebody white said so. But it's not just whites doing black men bad. Did y'all see the story about the black woman getting hit in the face with a brick? She said a black man hit in her face with a brick. But this woman has a history of hustling people. She's come out with prior incidents saying what a black man has done to her. And she's just known to walk up to black men and slap them in their face. And after each incident, she sets up a GoFundMe page and hustles people for help. Say, black men make up only 7% of the United States population. And they account for 47% of all exonerations. So, are we getting justice? Or is it just us that have to keep enduring these types of incidents? I'll talk to you later.